Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to look at a plugin that is called GridFather by Ultra Wisdom, and we're going to make a sound that sounds something like this. So this plugin, I believe, is actually an equivalent of AutoGrid that is available to only Ableton users. But now we're kind of blessed to have it in a VST form, so we can actually use it in different DAWs. And since I work on Bitwig, I just thought I could grab it and I can kind of go over, what it is somewhat capable of. I'm not gonna go too much into detail of what this plugin can do for you, like with every nits and bits. But Altruism actually has a really good video on his YouTube channel. If you want to go check that out, it's gonna be somewhere here or down in the description box. But yeah, so we'll just go and I'll show you kind of my use case of this plugin that I recently started discovering. And yeah, and I hope it can help you guys, get inspired and do something similar. Okay, so first off, I just want to show you this page. This is the page you can actually go and buy this plugin. It pretty much tells you what it's capable of doing, and then as I mentioned, his video on YouTube over here where Altruism goes into every needs some bits of this plugin. It's a 45 minute video, so you can definitely go check this out. Again, the link will be down in the description box. So let's get back to Bitwig now, and this is kind of our use case for it. I'll go over all these different parameters, but on a really high level, so I don't want to go too much into detail because I want to get to the sound part pretty quick. So here you can see it says random step sequencer. You have 4 different probabilities of note length, so you can basically, it's all about randomization. Creating that grid, having these random notes that you would have actually manually kind of put together. This plugin takes that off of your shoulders and it creates that for you without actually putting MIDI notes for different channels on top of each other, so they're not clashing with each other. They're always kind of bouncing off of each other, and you create it with these parameters. So if you look at on top here, there's probability 1. You can basically adjust these note lengths. So it's the first portion of these speed 1, probability 1. The first portions are note length, second portions are the percentages. So whichever percentage is higher, it has a better probability of playing that note in that length. Second part is playing probability. This is kind of like a master dry wet parameter. Note length again, so if you're playing a 1/16th note, it can be 1/16th in full length, or it can be 45% of it. Note velocity, this is great for creating random modulations if you're using velocity as your modulator, let's say for your filters. CC modulation, again, this doesn't really apply to me at the moment, as well as pitch bend, because I use Microfreak as my MIDI controller, so I don't have use cases for this. Again, for this third part as well, so what you can do here, you can pretty much give melodic probabilities to your notes, and at this point it again doesn't apply to me, but I just want to show you here. If you can see over here, it says note probabilities, and you have the entire scale. So if you, let's say, put this 100, so chances are it's gonna play the third note of F1 on this scale. I mean, these scales are nuts, man. It's great that we have all these scales. You have, I mean, yeah, Phrygian, Persian, whole tone. So really great job on this. And yeah, you can get really great arpeggios with it, but again, this is not it doesn't apply to our case at the moment. So yeah, but you can do like really good melodic arpeggios with this, and you can just adjust your scale over here. Let's say you want to go to Balinese scale, whatever that is, you can just adjust. So you can see here the Balinese scale is probably this. You have your first semitone, and then one full, and then you go all the way to the seventh, and then eighth, and then so this is your entire scale. And then you can also give it movement within octaves. You can go all the way up to 5 octaves, and no transpositions probability. This is, again, however high this is, chances are your MIDI notes are going to jump between these, either the root note, the second note, or third note, whatever the scale is adjusted to. Within that scale, it's just going to start moving around. So it's great, but I'm not going to use it today. What we're going to use today is these channel probabilities. So this is kind of where for me, this plugin shines, where you can actually load up to 8 different channels, and you can tell this plugin to send those to all these different channels, and then you have to do some meter routing over here, and I'm going to show you how I do it on Bitwig. But I'm sure that there are different plugins for different DAWs. I know there's like Loop MIDI for probably Cubase, but I'm not really sure how other DAWs handle those meter routings. But Bitwig, it's really easy. We're just gonna go over it right now. And this phrase length, as far as I understand it, and I watched Ultra Wisdom's video so many times, but with this thing, it's basically you're giving a phrase with these probabilities to your certain channels, so that if this channel is playing, let's say it gets triggered by this first one, the probability is that its length will be between 1/16th note or 1/4 of a note. So, but it's gonna play whatever the length of notes you adjust over here. This is more of like it's gonna play it for either 1/16th or 1/4, or it's gonna be somewhere in between. So I'm not sure if that made sense, but basically you're telling your channel to play its notes of this length for certain amount of time. So the amount of time is between this parameter. So that's kind of what it means, I believe. So let me put this back. And so I'm going to show you now how we route the MIDI to certain different channels. And for that, I have 7 different channels over here. So basically, in Bitwig, what you do is you open up an instrument channel and you load up the synth, GridFather 1.3, and then you can pretty much load up all your different instruments on different channels. So if you look at here, we have a Vital here, and then this is a lot of these sounds are coming from my free Vital preset pack. There's this one, again another Vital. I mean, you get the idea. So there's 7 different sounds that I created on Serum, Vital, whatever you can think of. Basically, for each channel that I have over here, I tell Bitwig to get its input from GridFather, right? So I'm just gonna play GridFather here, and we're gonna see that it's gonna start sending information to these channels. So you see that it's sending MIDI information, and pretty much these grayed out levels are telling you whenever it's sending this MIDI information, or wherever it's sending this MIDI information. So now we're going to route these. Basically on Bitwig, you adjust the input from wherever you have your GridFather synth, and then up here, this is where your MIDI comes from and goes to. So for every channel that I have, for every sound that I have it coming from one and then going to one. So basically, you just repeat that for every channel. So if it's second channel, it should come from 2 and it should go to 2. If it's third, it does that. And as you can imagine, you have 16 MIDI channels, so you can repeat this up to 8 because that's within the limitation of this plugin here. But what you can do is that you record your MIDI signals that are being sent from this, and then you kind of just bounce it off, and then you can do like a new cycle like that. So as I mentioned, you pretty much do everything over here, and then if you look at this part up here, you can see that each channel is coming from and going to that MIDI channel. And over here now we can see, if you play this and we start looking at what we have on our GridFather parameters. So you can see here like how long these notes are being sent, their velocity levels, and which channel these notes are being sent to, and like how long those notes are belonging to each channel. And then here we can adjust how fast we want these notes to be sent or not. So let's say that I want to send by the way, I think multi basically duplicates all these parameters. So your 1.1, 1/8 will be 1/4, your 1/16 will be 1/8. So I just keep it on 1. So basically, let's say you wanted to send more 1/8, you can just bump this up. So then it'll send more 1/8 of notes. If I put this all the way down, all these notes will be 1/8, but then we have the note length parameter here that kind of adjusts how long those 1/8 notes are. So as you can see, like there's a lot of this randomization going on with every time of us being, sending these MIDI information to different channels. And here you can see again, all these channels are getting information whenever they're sent that information, and you can see that over here. So if I make this all the way 100, 100, all the MIDI information will be 100. But some of my plugins might have, like plucky envelopes, so that's why it doesn't go all the way through. But you get the idea, and so it's something like that you can do. So I'm just gonna go ahead and switch it back to kind of what I had it, and maybe we can try this. Let's say. So as you can see over there, if I change that octave, it sends it to higher notes. Of course, it starts from 1 and then it only goes higher. And how does it know which note you're sending? Of course, you just pump it over here. This is my F1. So I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna make it 0. So again, I won't touch this as much. One last thing I want to show you guys. So one last thing I just wanted to show is that you can do this up to 8 channels. But what happens is, you run out of MIDI channels, right? What if you want to do like different grids? So that's where the recording portion comes in, where you can actually record this MIDI information for every channel, and I did that over here. So you can see that. So you can see all these channels actually had some sort of MIDI information coming in, but we're gonna do that live with you. So I'm gonna push these all the way here, and then what I want to do is to actually select all these, and then I'm gonna basically arm them. So I believe you select everything, and then they're already getting that MIDI information. So we're just gonna start record, and I just want to do that. Okay, let's see that. Alright, so basically what we did over there is we enable all of our channels to record because all of them are getting that MIDI information from that one synth. And so you enable all that, and then once you start recording, all of them get that MIDI information recorded. One thing I realized with Bitwig is that when you record all this MIDI information, maybe it's just my computer as well, there tends to be some like latency issues maybe. So the notes kind of don't hit it from the exact point of where they're supposed to. So for that, I just go into each channel and then I select all my notes that are recorded, and then if you quantize them, you should be able to get them to the perfect spot. So you can just check where those notes are located, so you have that perfect cut basically to the point of their start. So let's say I have 7 channels here. I have to do it with all these 7 channels, but it's kind of laborious maybe, but it's not a huge deal. So let's just go ahead and do that. And okay, and the last thing is, if you have your notes recorded here, pretty much you would have to disable your MIDI information from your synth, because then what happens is they start playing on a double kind of fashion. So I would just go here and I would just mute it. I think I just wanted to mention one last thing before I wrap this up. Basically, if I have my grid channels like this, all 7 different channels, generally what I do is I put them to a group folder to kind of bust them together so they have the same output, and then we can send it to my sound effects channel or sound effects bus or folder, depending on what DAW you're using. So basically there's some processing here. You can see I have my compression, I have my pan man, I have my EQ, and also I have gatekeeper to give it a little bit of different vibe of jumping around between beats and stuff. There you go. And also I send these to my sound effects, so I have a reverb effect over here, and then also 1/8 dotted effect that I have at the end of this project right there. So basically that's the processing of all the sounds. As I mentioned, a lot of these presets are coming from my free Vital presets pack, and I'm gonna leave a link down below in the description box for that again. And then let's just hear what we got so far with these. Alright guys, that's about it for today. I know it was a bit of an impromptu video, but I just wanted to kind of show you this plugin. You can grab this on Gumroad. It's pretty cheap. It does great things, and it really started to enhance my workflow, especially when if you're creating grids and you don't want to spend so much time trying to pick like the best bits from like a lot of these different channels. It's a really good way to just kind of kickstart your creative process, and then you can fine tune, whatever you want to do after. Please let me know if you liked this video or disliked it down below in the comment section. Leave your feedback, your suggestions on what we can do better, what we can do worse. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.